Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Decide to Heal. I'm Alejandra Crisafulli, your host today, and we have the most amazing Heather with us. Hello, Heather.
Hi.
So, you know what? Heather is going to be sharing so much with us and opening up her heart and allowing us into her struggles and her life challenges and also the beautiful things too. And allowing me to walk her through this. So make sure that you give Heather some love in the comments and just thank her for being open and vulnerable with us, because I know through you sharing, Heather, it's going to touch somebody else's heart and exactly what they need to hear or feel like, yep, that's what I'm going through right now. So thank you for doing this and make sure you give her some love.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, welcome. Okay. So let's just start with, what really prompted you in wanting to have this conversation? I invited people into having these coaching sessions with me, but there must have been something that spoke to you
Mhm.
that was like, I need this.
Yeah. No, definitely in the last like 6 or 8 months, I think since I was meeting with you more regularly, there's just been like, I think just a turn of everything from, losing the job opportunity that I thought I was going to have and then starting the divorce paperwork. And so it's just kind of led to depression and just not being motivated to do much. And then two kids are halfway across the country on the West Coast and, well, no, all the way across. I'm in the Midwest in Ohio. So yeah, just really feeling like, okay, I actually was thinking the last couple of weeks, like I need a coach. I need something like just to figure out like how to get unstuck. Like I have family here and they're very supportive, but yeah, it's a little bit different when you have someone from the outside.
Yeah.
So,
So really it sounds like you're kind of in that stuck place. That's something we were talking about too before we
mhm,
got onto our recording here, is that just feeling
mhm.
stuck and
Yeah,
not having the motivation to move forward because of these things that are happening, right? Like the
yeah.
job loss and the divorce that is now, it sounds like it's final, like you signed papers.
No, it's not actually, it's just officially starting. Like I finally filed the divorce paperwork, but it's been a while in the process, just trying to wait and see when is the right timing just for other things. I thought I needed to be out living on my own first, like to ask for child support and all of that. And then, yeah, so it just took me a little longer than I thought to get everything going.
Yeah.
So, yeah, now
Yeah.
it's finally getting going.
Okay. Gotcha. So let's talk about the stuck place and like describe it for me. Like what is really what
Mhm.
are you experiencing?
Yeah, so I was a flight attendant for 12 years and then was forced to retire with our company. And then I thought I wasn't going to fly again. So then I moved here to Ohio when I separated from my husband. And I was like, well, what kind of job am I going to do? Because I don't have a degree. I was making more money than people with degrees at the airlines. And I'm like, I don't have time or money to go back and get a degree. What am I going to do? So I thought I was going to fly again. Um, Found another airline that's pay was comparable with my previous airline and everything was going good until they decided to cancel all their training for the rest of the year. Once that hit, I was just like, okay, now what am I going to do? I think as when I felt more stuck, like I don't want to just get a job because I'm good at it, but I'm not going to enjoy it. So then once that happened, and it was kind of like a combination of seeing my son, who's still, on the West Coast with his dad, struggling and not doing so well and not motivated in things anymore. And he's left on his own to do most stuff now and not really being parented. It's just like hard because I can only, excuse me, help so much from a distance. I can't really force him to do anything. And then my daughter, who's in college, of course, now I'm across the country too, so I don't see her, and she's not that good at long distance relationships. So that's really hard for me because we were close before, and so whenever I go and visit, it's great. But when I'm here, it's not. We don't talk as much. So I
Yeah.
think just a combination of all of that, plus then getting a job with another airline here, but it doesn't pay as well. But then I feel guilty now when I'm gone because my parents are watching the kids. So I just feel like, I don't know, like I've gone backwards. I had a great paying job with a long time as a flight attendant with the bigger airline, and I was paying two mortgages and two different houses, and we were doing well. And now, like, I can't even get my own place. I'm still at my parents. Have been here for a year now. So yeah, just feeling stuck or like I'm moving backwards and like I'm not like I'm always going to be struggling to take care of my kids now as a single mom and how it's going to affect my kids, that are on the other side of the country in our relationship for the future. So I don't know if that answers it, but like it's just a combination of everything. It's
Yeah.
just been like I don't want to get out of bed sometimes, but I don't stay in bed because I obviously got to take my kids to school. I just like don't want to go to work, and I loved my job. I worked high hours before when I was flying. Now I just don't want to go. I don't enjoy doing like little hobbies and things that I did before, like even the basic things like going to church, which we've always done. That's just a part of life, and I know I need it, but like I often don't want to go. I still take the kids, we still go, unless like somebody's sick. But yeah, so it's just been, I
Yeah.
don't know, and I know I like do the things that I have to do, but it's just not fulfilling anymore. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a few other things I'm hearing too, but like overall, it's just kind of like you're existing at the moment and there's
Yeah,
no,
it's
yeah,
providing.
it's just where's the aliveness and the joy and the
Mhm.
purpose of life and think about like you used motivation a couple of times, the word motivation. Like think about where the draw of motivation really comes from. What would you say?
Where it's supposed to come from
Yeah,
when
like
I'm not
where
getting it.
yeah, like where's motivation just period supposed to come from?
Right. I think like that comes from like hopes and dreams, like your inner desire or like purpose or I don't know, having goals. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I feel like you're spot on with that. It does come from your hopes and dreams. So when you don't really have them,
Mhm.
or when it feels like they're too unattainable, motivation is going to be really hard to
Mhm.
even like try and experience or draw up that like feeling or drive to do anything. And when you're in a place like this is more of just, I want to create a distinction for you here, Heather, because this is going to be a lot more helpful than trying to find motivation right now with where you're at. It's kind
Mhm.
of like you're at point A right now, and motivation is point Z, and
Mhm.
it's too hard to get from A to Z from where you're standing.
Mhm.
So instead, during times of hardship like this or during times of stuckness, more so, what needs to be focused on is perseverance rather than motivation.
Mhm. Right,
So, what do you hear in the difference between those two things?
right. Perseverance, like you keep doing what you need to do until motivation comes. I don't know, like you just
Yeah.
keep doing it. And,
Yeah, you keep showing up. You keep, I don't want to say like for lack of a better way of saying it, like pushing through, but that's not necessarily, it's that like I'm going to walk through this one foot in front of the other, even though I don't want to, but I'm going to continue to focus in on God, the work I need to be doing on myself, and
yeah.
just keep moving forward in that, even though it's hard at the moment. But those
Mhm.
struggles are there for a reason. And the other side of the struggle actually will be like way beyond motivation. Motivation at that point becomes more of like an effect rather than a cause.
Mhm.
What do you hear in that when I say it's an effect rather than a cause?
Like it's more of a not result.
You're on the right track. Keep going.
It happens, it happens like as you keep doing it,
Yep.
not
It
like you're
like
forcing
exactly. It becomes natural and not something you have to force yourself to do.
it.
So that effect is like, well, I'm just naturally motivated. Like I don't have to even think about it or like muster up the energy to do it, whatever it is. It just naturally happens when you've walked through the perseverance, doing the work that you need to be doing. And then it
Mhm.
just like, wow, the other side of it is just really amazing. And again, it feels natural. It's nothing you're having to force yourself to do.
Yeah.
So are you willing to release the thought of motivation right now? Because it's not going to serve you.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you know you're willing to release that?
I think it's just neat, just thinking at it from another perspective, like you said. And as you think about it, like it's not working what I'm doing now, and it just makes
No.
you feel more like a failure.
Exactly. It just
Changing the mindset.
exactly. It feels more like a fit. It feeds the guilt that you're
Mhm.
feeling right now. It's like it doesn't, it's not, again, serving you. So focus on the perseverance part because
Mhm.
there's power in that. And then you have to draw upon something greater than yourself, which of course we know is God
Mhm.
when you're persevering. And there's that whole scripture from James 1:4 that says, allow perseverance to do
Mhm.
its work in you until you are whole and complete, lacking
Mhm.
nothing. So you're being worked on right now, and you
Mhm.
have to actively participate in this work. And
Yeah.
that's that one foot in front of the other and just keep showing up. Okay,
Yeah.
how does that feel before we move on here and talk about, well, what is the work now that needs to be done so that you can have your breakthrough?
No, that feels good. That's hopeful.
Okay, look at that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's go back to the stuck place and let's walk through the persevering part here. When did this all start? Like I want to go back to
Sure.
when did you feel? Because it sounds like things were going well, you were fulfilled, you were doing, and then what?
Yeah. Well, I, I don't know if it's also like part of the like trauma healing too, because when I was in the marriage, I was constantly like in survival mode and just going, 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 and having to take care of everyone else and like just didn't even um, care for myself or allow myself to be able to think about my emotions or my feelings or process things or have time to myself because all of my time was always dictated by either taking care of the kids or fulfilling my husband's needs or trying to keep things at peace. So I feel like now it's almost like, well, I don't have to do like, I don't have to do anything because now I have a support system. So now if I don't want to do anything, then I don't have to. Like things will still happen with my husband, like things wouldn't happen. I always had to be doing it. So I think part of it is that in that now like I'm allowing myself to be able to kind of deal with the trauma of the 18 years. But at the same time, I think like the main thing that triggered it was the hopeless feeling of now I've lost this job opportunity and I don't know how I'm going to provide. And I don't know how I can be a good mom from a distance with my other kids. And so that was like in the middle of March or the end of March. And then I went to go visit my kids, and it was kind of a rough time. Not because of my kids, just the whole situation with getting there and figuring out where to stay and all these other things and all these details that went into it, where it was just like, it was just stressful. And so that on top of coming back to no hope and not knowing what job, and then knowing that I'm staying with my parents who are retired and supposed to be able to be retired and not having three extra kids in their house and feel like I'm a burden to them. And then they're helping. Well, now I'm working and taking care of the kids. But I think that's what really hit it, which was when I was like, okay, I can't be a good parent from a long distance. I don't know what's going to happen with my son, how he's going to turn out. And I don't know how I'm going to ever provide and be able to afford my own place or like to buy a house or something.
Yeah. All of those things point to like basically one thing. So when it comes to healing, like it's not about, I don't look at healing of like all these things that need healing. It's if you can find that one piece, almost like a tangled necklace, like when you find that like one piece in the tangled necklace, and if you could just pull that piece, the rest of it would start to untangle.
Yeah. Over
And
to what I think it would be.
exactly.
Like the,
I almost want to have you like write this down. Do you have paper with you by chance, Heather?
oh, I can do that.
Yeah, grab some paper. While she's grabbing paper, y'all, like It's one of the things that's really important. We keep so much of things in our head and trying to analyze or think about things or even find those pieces that need healing by talking about it. But the moment you get something out on paper, one, it's a form of expression, and two, you can see it more clearly because it's out on
Mhm.
paper. So, yeah,
Yeah.
like writing things out can help to
Mhm.
clarify things. So let's go back for a second then.
Okay.
And do you remember some of the things you were saying? Because I want you to list those out. You were talking, my question was,
Yeah,
where did it start? And you started listing out a couple of things. So go ahead and take a moment here. And as you're writing them out, would you just say them out loud too?
sure. The job loss,
Mm-hmm.
um, not being able to be a good mom long distance. I guess no hope for
Yep.
being able to be self-sustainable and provide for my kids.
You also mentioned about allowing yourself to deal with the trauma, like shut
Yeah,
down so much and do mode.
right. Allow myself to, yeah, yeah. And not wanting to be a burden to my parents.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So out of these things, anything else, by the way, before I ask my question?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Is there anything else? I'm sorry. Is
Well,
there, go
I
ahead.
guess just like feeling like a failure, I guess. I don't know.
Yep.
Like, like, did I make the right choice in leaving? Because
Mm-hmm.
now all these other things are happening to my kids, and now this is my parents have to deal with all this. Should I just have, like sucked it up? Like, was there something else I could have done?
Yeah, you got it. That's actually, like I was going to ask you, what is the connection? How I was saying there's one thing that all of these things are speaking towards, that you are actually feeling, viewing, thinking about yourself. And you just said it.
Mhm.
What is it? What's the connection between all these things?
Did I make the right choice or failure? Mm,
Failure.
yeah.
So how does that land when you like
No,
acknowledge
yeah, I feel like yeah, that is what I feel.
this is what you've been carrying at the core? Like that's what we were trying to do is find the core of what everything is about. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like having failed at allowing yourself to deal with the trauma or dealing with it for as long as you did,
Mm-hmm.
failure. That hopeless feeling of not being able to sustain yourself. Well, if you're holding on to that failure, then yeah, of course you're not going to be able to. Or if you can't be a great parent to the kids that are across the country, but also to the ones that are right there with you because you're away when you work, the job
Mm-hmm.
loss, yeah, all of it, not wanting to be a burden, it's all coming back to this failure piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so again, how's that landing before we keep going?
Like I know, yeah. I know that that is right. That's how I feel, but I don't know, it doesn't feel good.
I get it.
Yeah.
Allowing that in as that's what you've been carrying, Heather, and I can see it right now, like you're trying not to let yourself, but this is like what's needed for the healing to happen. So
Mm-hmm.
can you take a moment to just let that land and in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think I don't know if it's just hard because like it was always my job to keep everything together
Yep.
and make sure things worked. And now that I'm trying to keep myself and my kids safe, why do I feel worse now?
Yeah, it's a great question.
I don't know. It's like I was more satisfied when I was in an abusive relationship because I had all my kids and my house and a great job. And now that I'm out and I don't have all of that stress, it's,
Yeah,
I feel like I would feel better.
right. Makes you question it, even though you know that's not true. Because when you were in it,
Yeah.
th th there was a different hardness.
Yeah.
You're, and this is why it's so hard to make these decisions too. It's like, and why so many people end up staying in an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, because it's fine, like it's okay, and it's going to be hard on the other, and we do all these justifications to stay.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's why I stayed so long.
Right,
I mean, because we tried so many things, all the conferences and the seminars and the retreats and the counseling, but
right.
nothing ever lasted. And so it's like, okay, I just have to make a decision. But yeah. Mhm.
This failure piece is going to be way easier to heal than continue dealing with an abusive relationship where you feel like you are the one that had to do it all, like you were just doing it all yourself. I know it doesn't feel like that in this moment because that's hard to acknowledge that you've been carrying that, but it is going to be so much easier to move beyond and have healing and breakthrough and create something incredible on the other side than it would be in a very toxic, traumatic relationship,
Mhm.
staying in that.
Yeah. No, I
And
agree.
sorry, go ahead.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So, your question, why do you feel worse now? Let's answer this question. But once we do, Heather, you can't ever ask the question again because
Mhm.
you will know why. So do you want to really know why?
Yeah.
Okay. And I say, like, do you really want to know? Because you can't ever ask yourself the question again, because you'll know the answer.
Mhm.
A lot of times, like I've seen, and I'm not saying this is what you do, it's just something I've seen, is that we like to victimize ourselves in our emotions and what we're feeling. And that's part of keeping us stuck. And so we can so often just keep asking, like, why is this happening? And why do I feel worse now? And why am I doing this? And why am I experiencing it? It's like a form of keeping ourselves stuck because we like to be in that victim mode. Not that you consciously like it. It's not a conscious thing. It's totally an unconscious thing that
Mhm.
keeps you stuck. And God did not design you to be stuck here, Heather. You do have a
Yeah.
great purpose, and you have such passion and love and drive in you that it needs to come out.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay, so once again, are you ready to know why? Because you can no longer ask this question once you know.
Mhm. Yes.
Okay, so any guesses that you have on why?
No, that was my thing. I was like, don't ask me to tell you the answer. That's why I hesitated to say yes.
Okay, two big reasons. Number one is what you resist will persist. You've heard me say this before, yes? What do you hear in that?
What I resist, like practically for me, the
Mm-hmm.
things that I'm resisting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I'm resisting taking the hard steps to like even set up new routines and goals because I'm afraid to fail again or more, fail in more ways.
Exactly. Very good. You've been resisting embracing the failure that you feel,
Mm,
which, of course, logically, why would you want to embrace that? Why would you even want to? It's almost like admitting, hey, I'm a failure.
mm,
Okay, great. Well, that's crappy. I don't like that. Well, no, nobody wants to admit these deep, dark secrets or truths, but you're carrying it with you. And the more you try and deny it, the greater it becomes. When you're in that state of denial, you're pushing it down and it causes stuckness, almost like let's envision like you're in a pool, okay? And you want to get to the other side of the pool because the other side of the pool, there's like an oasis, there's this beautiful, like, oh, gorgeous beach and palm trees and just beautiful, okay? But in the pool, you have a balloon and you think that in order to get to the other side where all this gorgeousness is, you have to push down the balloon and get rid of it in order to get to the other side. What happens when you try and push down a balloon in water?
It's coming up.
So
Mm,
that's the state you're in right now. Let me push it down. So it's this resistance of like nobody can know I have this balloon because the other side I think is not going to accept me in this balloon. I know this is
mm,
kind of silly, but I'm trying to use a visual of the stuck place you're in right now and you're trying to shove that balloon down, which the balloon represents failure at this moment.
mm,
That's why you're stuck too. And all the energy that you have spent for how long trying to get the balloon to go down and hide and go away. It doesn't
mm,
work like that. You're only going to keep exerting more energy. That's what resistance is like. The
mm,
moment you can acknowledge, oh, I have this balloon, and you pull it out of the water and can like smack it away, then you can like, okay, now I'm free to move.
mm,
But you have to acknowledge that it's there and get it out of the water and like, here's this balloon. Okay, great, go.
mm.
How's that landing?
Yeah, no, I think that's good because that's like one of my worst like fears is not being right or not knowing the answers or
Yes,
being wrong. I think that was one of my core issues or something.
yes, yes, yes. That's actually the number two answer. I'll come back to that in a second, though. Why it's worse now, you've been resisting this failure piece and not wanting to acknowledge it. And if you aren't acknowledging what's there, you cannot heal.
Mm,
That's number one. Number two is exactly what you said. You want to be proving yourself right because you
mm,
don't like to be wrong. So many of us fall into this category.
mm,
So as long as you've got this like hanging up your hat, so to speak, on failure, then you're making yourself right. But I want to make sure that you get what this means. So when we say that one of the reasons this feels worse now is that you get to be proving yourself right, how does that fit into this failure piece? What do you see?
So, like, I want to be right in the decision that I made. That is the best for me and my kids to come here. But then I feel like a failure because of all these other things that have happened since then. So, if I admit that I failed, then it could go back to wait, maybe I didn't make the right decision, but I know that I did. So,
Exactly. It's like,
yeah.
and hence stuck in that too, because it's like this back and forth. Like it's hard to move any place forward when you're back and forth like that. And okay, so you're trying to prove yourself right that you did make the right decision. What's that getting you kind of thing? Like again, how's that feeling? How's it working out? Like, is it really worth it?
Mm, yeah. I think it just makes me see more of my failures.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, before we move on, how are you doing?
Yeah, that's good. No, I think that's good.
So, in order to get out of the unstuck place and move forward, what do you think needs to happen?
I don't know. I mean, I guess admit that I feel like I failed,
Yeah,
but I feel like I've done that before.
right.
Like, so I don't know if I just not processed it correctly or
Okay.
what. Like, I'm always like, oh, I just need to be more grateful. And I'm like, well, no, I think I am grateful. Like, I know, what I have here is so good now, but I'm just like, I don't know how to move past that.
Yeah. Okay. I want to see something first. Do you see a difference between admitting and acknowledging?
Mm,
Admitting something versus acknowledging something.
I guess, like, if you acknowledge it, you already know it's there. But admitting it, it's like you're just realizing that that's the truth. Or
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Good. Adm So do you see one being, and I'm going to ask more of a feeling versus a thought. So let's do this for a second. And whoever's listening, let's do the same thing, okay? So go ahead and close your eyes for a moment. And I want you to just tune into how this word lands, like what the experience of it is when I say the word. I'll repeat it a few times so that you can really tune in. Admit, admit, admit. Okay, how did that feel?
So yeah, I feel like the difference between admitting and acknowledging that admit has more of a negative connotation and acknowledging is a more of a positive, like, oh yeah, I know I need this, or
Yeah.
but admitting is like you have to say it, like you need to do it. If you can't even you like you're stuck if you can't even admit your problems, or for people you gotta admit that you're an alcoholic or whatever, like it's a negative connotation.
A negative. Yeah, very good. Let's just look at the other one too. Go ahead. Let's do this again. Go ahead and close your eyes. All right. Acknowledge. 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 How does that one feel? What comes up?
Definitely more positive in that it's gonna get you to a better place.
Yes.
It's so hopeful.
Yes, exactly.
Mhm.
The reason why and all those things you were saying, beautiful. With admitting, it's almost like it's my fault.
Mhm.
And it's taking on this like fault.
Your thumb went up.
Thumbs up. That was weird, guys. If you're not watching the video, there's like a thumbs up that had
Mhm.
been on the video. Don't know where that came from. Like, yes, God, thank you.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It's you taking on that it's my fault, which is very heavy and very burdensome. And the ego part of you, the part that edges God out, would like for you to buy into this lie that it's your fault.
Mhm.
Versus acknowledge it's more hopeful, it's more open, there's truth in it. It's like, yes, I feel like I have failed, and that's okay. I can acknowledge it through a truth telling, and not take it on as this burden that I have to carry because it's my fault. So it's much more positive and open. So, yeah, in the past, you probably did admit to some level, but maybe not acknowledging because it's like oftentimes how we think we've done something before maybe you thought it was a healing thing, but if it's not coming from almost like a surrendered place, like I'm going to say this, but I'm really not surrendering it up as I say it. I'm still going to hold on to it because if I don't, then it really means that I'm the failure and I need to be right.
Mhm.
That's not okay. So let me
Mhm.
just say it as a thing to say, but I don't really mean it.
Mhm.
Yeah, does that land?
Yeah,
What's coming up?
no, yeah, like, well, whatever, if you're worried like about how people think or what they perceive of you, then
Yes.
you pick and tell the way you handle different conversations
Yep.
and say the
Exactly.
things that you think you need to say.
Yes. Acknowledging starts also with between you, and you and God. It's really you acknowledging, like, and not just that you're a failure or that you feel like you failed. It's that more so I've been trying to prove myself right through this failure, which is why I have not wanted to let it go.
Mm. Mm. That's good. Writing it down.
Good.
Mm.
Yes. What'd you write down? Let's hear it back.
That I wanted to prove myself through the failure, and that's why I don't want to let it go.
Very good.
That I want to prove that I didn't make a mistake.
Yes. Now you just acknowledged. How did
Mhm.
that feel?
Yeah, no, that feels good.
Okay.
Mhm.
So when I say it starts with like between you and God, like this is
Mhm.
what you need to go into, Heather, of where you're going to start getting unstuck and really allowing yourself to release the being right part and having held on to this. And that's where again, that work of one step and one foot in front of the other
Mhm.
is around exactly what you wrote down.
Mhm.
The other step from there is this is something you want to acknowledge with your kids and your parents,
Mhm.
which is sometimes the harder part. Like it's easier to acknowledge to ourselves and to God because I mean there's such grace there and to admit and sorry, to acknowledging it to ourselves, there is freedom in that. But then to actually speak, it's like a speaking your truth,
Mhm.
speaking it out loud to the people that you think it's affected. That's when it starts to feel like, whoa, now we're getting real. Like, I don't, so how did that land when I say, like, then taking it to your kids and to your parents?
Yeah. Well, first I just thought like about my kids here that are with me.
Mm,
And then as you talked, I was like, oh, well, I guess I gotta say it to my kids too in Oregon.
yeah.
Um, which I felt like I've kind of said to them before, and but I don't know why I feel like I have to prove it more to my son, my 10th grade son, that like I think he feels the most like he got the short end of the stick because now he's by himself all the time and his dad's always working. He doesn't have any siblings and he just still has to deal with his dad's emotions and everything else. So yeah, like I feel like I've tried to explain to him that I know I made the right decision, but
That's
no,
not, but that's not what you would be acknowledging now.
that I'm not a failure.
That you've been holding, read what you wrote down.
Which one?
The last thing,
That wanting to prove myself
right?
and why I don't want to let it go.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
It's acknowledging with him that you have failed and
Mm.
that you didn't want to fail. You've been resisting that because you've been holding on to it as a way to prove that you're right. instead of just I'm at like I feel like I didn't serve you well.
Mhm. Mhm.
Do you hear a difference maybe between what you shared with him and what we're saying now?
Yeah, but I wouldn't know where to go from there, like with the conversation,
Yep.
like
Good.
that I have failed, but I still think I made the right decision. But I don't know if I say that I failed and I didn't serve him. I don't know if he thinks that. I don't want them thinking that I made that this means like that I think I made the wrong decision.
Which is part of the embracing the failure. This is where it becomes hard. And like this isn't logical. Like we're talking about a 180 here from what everybody else talks about and does. So it's kind of challenging to see. But there's almost this like you have to allow the conversation to unfold and see what actually happens first. And that's also why I say you start with yourself and God before you take it to them.
Mhm.
Because there's going to be a strength develop in being able to acknowledge this with him, with any of them, but with him specifically, since we're talking about him,
Mhm.
and not reiterating that you think you made the right choice. Because you sharing this with him, the acknowledgement is, yes, it's for you, but it's also for him to start healing as well and him getting to share vulnerably and openly with you too. And if
Mhm.
he's angry at you, like, I think you made the wrong choice, and that you just acknowledge, like, I get that. I feel like that too, which is why sometimes, which is why I'm sharing this with you. I know in the big picture I didn't, but that doesn't mean I don't feel that in this moment.
Mhm.
What are you hearing?
Yeah, that I guess that I still need to acknowledge that I was just trying to prove myself through the failure and I didn't want to let it go. But yeah, I guess I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. Like, yes, I have failed, but
That doesn't mean you needed to stay in the marriage that was abusive because that would have been failure too.
Mhm.
That would have led to the exact same place as well because it's what you felt. I mean, it's how we got into the conversation too. It was there during the marriage and why you stayed as long as you did. And you were probably feeling the same core thing then.
Mhm. Yeah.
You know, something we haven't gotten into is where the failure really started. And it probably goes back into childhood stuff and has just been carried throughout life, which is, another conversation we could have. But
Mhm.
it would have, do you get where I'm going? Of like you were failing in the marriage too. So either way wasn't working.
Mhm. Right. Yeah.
So it's almost like if you just share that first part and let it land for him, and then let him ask you questions versus like, let me say this, and I don't feel like I failed by leaving the marriage, because then you're right back to where you started again. And the acknowledgement, you take away the acknowledgement you just made, and you take away the healing that can happen through the acknowledgement, not just for you, but for him too. So just declare what you said and then let him like, okay, let me make sure I'm understanding, mom, and like let him ask the questions from that point. And you
Mhm.
answer in that real moment. And the answer isn't to go back of like, well, I think I made the right decision. Again, that takes you right back into the 360 we're talking about here. And you want to be free from that. It's more of like, I don't, I'm feeling like this failure part. So whether I did it the right way or the wrong way, I'm doing what I know is going to be quote unquote right now.
Mhm.
When you hear in that last part,
Yeah. well, just not bringing up that whether it's the right decision, but just how I did it before is not how I'm trying to do it now. Yeah, I'm trying to do it differently. Yeah, so that I don't keep feeling like a failure. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that you don't have to keep proving yourself right in
Hmm.
something that's very like, why prove yourself through this? Prove yourself right into who God really made you,
Hmm.
not this failure part that comes from, as you know, the human part of you
Hmm.
and your ego. And that you're doing again, the last piece to add on, if he does ask you anything of that nature do you think you made the right decision? That you're just saying whether I did or didn't, because I feel like I was failing then, and I feel like I'm failing now because it was all about me trying to prove that I was right in the failure part. Regardless, now, through acknowledging this truth, is I'm not going to be doing the same thing I've always done. And this feels like right now.
Hmm. Okay.
Questions.
Yeah, I just wonder what he's gonna think. Like, I don't even know if he can share anything or even ask me any questions. He's not like that at all. But I don't know what he'll think if I'm saying moving forward, I want to do this differently, you know,
Yeah,
because everything that I seem to try with him doesn't even work anyways, because I can't force him to do anything long distance really.
no.
So
And this
no,
is, sorry, go ahead.
no, I just don't know like what other changes I can do with him.
Yeah. What other changes you can do is this perseverance part. The conversation with him, it, part of it is for him, but it's mainly for you and your healing. And the best way you can help him and all of your children is through you healing,
Hmm.
you doing your work.
Yeah.
Best way to help them. So you just, regardless of if he has a question or not, you're planting the seed here through acknowledging. For the seed for him, you're planting. For you, you're like, this is what's going to create your breakthrough.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that tangle that we're unraveling through this acknowledging, but starting with yourself and God. But so there has to be this time between you and with you and God, and just talking about this, what you've uncovered, and allowing yourself to feel it in a way that you haven't felt it for because you've been trying to hide it, the balloon, you've been trying to protect it and push it down and hide it instead of like, oh, okay, here it is. Wow, let me let that in now, like you did during the conversation when we were acknowledging it the first time.
Hmm.
You start there. You don't stay there forever because you could be like, oh, I'm not ready to have the conversation yet. Oh, I'm not ready to have the conversation with my son yet. Oh, I'm not ready. It's not like a long period of time. You don't wait until you're healed to have the conversation because it's part of your healing. So don't wait too long.
Yeah. Hmm.
All right, Heather, what's coming up?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about how to say that and, like say it the right way.
Notice what you just said. What did you just say?
Yeah, to do it right.
So don't do it right. Again, think of it like the 180. Like, totally don't go into this doing it right. Go into this, I have no idea how I'm going to do this. All I know is that I'm going to be super vulnerable, raw, and expose the balloon for what it is.
Mm,
Here we go.
mhm. Yeah.
That's the perseverance part and why you need strength beyond your own to do it, because you'll want to do it the right way, and that's going to get you the same result.
Mhm. Yeah.
So the failure and being right, they're like intertwined right now. So by acknowledging the failure, you start to unwind from, I have to be right and do things right. And oh my gosh, when you do that, like when you unhook it, life is that's when you're going to start stepping into your hopes and your dreams and seeing your divine purpose unfolding, and money will start to flow more easily, and you will be able to get out of your parents' house, but these two have to be unhooked.
Mhm.
Okay, I feel like you're processing something right now, so let's hear that and then we'll finish up.
Yeah. No, I'm just thinking, like, I don't know, am I admitting that I failed or am I admitting that I felt like I failed?
No, we're not
Um,
admitting anything anymore, right? Because that's that.
Acknowledging. I mean, uh, like, yeah, am I just acknowledging that I feel like I failed him? Or,
And yourself. Yep.
Mhm.
And that, sorry, keep going because I want you to own this for yourself rather than me saying it again.
Excuse me, acknowledge that I feel like I failed him and all the kids, obviously, and myself. I don't know.
I feel
I,
like maybe this might be the distinction that you need, Heather. It's not that you failed him, it's that you feel like you're a failure.
mm,
Do you hear a difference?
mhm.
What's the difference?
If I feel like a failure, it might not be the truth. Like it just could be, well, then that you put that on yourself and then that's how you act out of that stuck, saying that I was a failure. But if I acknowledge that I failed, then that you can change. You can make change and there's more hope moving forward.
Okay, good. If you're acknowledging that you failed him, who is that about?
Him?
Right. And is this about him?
No.
No, this is about you. So it's actually the other way around. It's you acknowledging that you have felt like a failure,
Okay. All
which
right.
does not mean you are a failure. It just means you have felt like a failure.
Okay. I think that's what I was confused about.
Good.
Like, am I actually saying to him, am I saying to him that I failed him or, okay.
No, this is about you expressing what is there for you, which gives you healing to be able to express that out loud. And through you healing, it's the
Mhm.
best way you could help him.
Okay. Okay. So that I felt like a failure.
And still do.
Yeah.
It's still very present. So it's not like a past. It's,
Right.
yeah. Okay, keep going. Go ahead.
Okay. No, so the whole part about not being able to let it go. But I'm not sure what I'm saying, what I'm letting go. The failure part that I felt like a failure or
The proving yourself right. So you wrote it down.
mm,
It's really very simple. It's basically the one statement you wrote down. So go back to that statement about what you were acknowledging and say that out loud again for me.
acknowledging it.
Hmm.
The part that I wanted to prove myself through failure, and that's why I didn't want to let it go.
Yep. That's all you're sharing. That's all you're acknowledging
Mm,
and expressing. And then if
mm,
he has questions, you answer them.
okay.
So it's quite simple. It may not feel that way, but it's very simple. That's it. What? What
Yeah,
was that face
I know
for?
it doesn't feel simple.
Oh, it doesn't feel
Right.
simple, but it is quite simple. And notice there's some emotion of, do you see some emotion started coming up and that like, oh, that's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's it. What you were doing before is overanalyzing it. So the right part was still present. Now, by making it very simple, this is all you're sharing. That's all you're acknowledging to yourself, to God, to Him, to all your children, to your parents. That's it. And we
Mhm.
know that that's the part that you need to acknowledge because the emotion came up and the uncomfortability came up. That's where you want to go. That's where your breakthrough lives. That's where your healing is going to happen.
Mm,
The rest, when you start going down the like, wait, what am I supposed to do? And wait, what am I supposed to say? That's that human part of you that wants to like make it safe. So we start to overanalyze and the whole being right thing comes out. So we're doing away with that.
mm,
Very simple. If you forget, come back to your note, which is why I had you write it down.
mhm. Yeah, that's good.
All right,
Yeah,
my
thank
friend.
you.
You're so welcome. How are you feeling?
Yeah, that feels good. Now I just got to figure out when I'm going to talk to him. Easier to talk
Start,
to the kids here and easier to
yeah,
talk to my
yeah.
daughter, but like
Start with
sometimes,
you first, you and God first, right?
yeah.
Like
Mhm,
take a day or two to like let this process. I'll also share this with you too. So audience, Heather will be getting this before y'all hear it. So if she can process through this and
mhm,
really, you and him first. And then in like no more than 2 days,
okay.
start acknowledging.
Okay.
Okay. You're so
Yeah.
beautiful. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you so much. This was
Yeah.
good.
You're so welcome. All right,
Mm,
everybody. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Decide to Heal. Please help us out, help me out, and go to Decide to Heal and do a review for us. And if you found this episode valuable and know somebody that maybe has been going through divorce or is feeling kind of the same feelings that Heather shared, because I know we've all been through that place of feeling like we failed or feeling failure to some degree, then share it. All right, y'all. Till next time. Love you.